Back in 2014, this guy called Jeremy Blum comes out with a game called Insurgency, based on his time in the Canadian military. It was a hit. Even though it failed to reach its $180,000 Kickstarter goal, only reaching 37%, critics loved it, and players did too. See, this game didn't have that fancy Halo bullshit that a lot of games at that time had. This game had finality. If you got a headshot on someone, that person was dropping. And people dug it. I mean, it was fun as shit to get a shot off with an assault rifle in that game. You saw a big puff of blood smoke come out, they dropped like a sack of potatoes. It was great. It was really fun. Fun enough to get almost 4 million copies into the Steam libraries of a shitload of people. Yes, things were in fact looking good for our buddy Jeremy Blum. He was happy. That's a shitload of people buying your game and a shitload of people validating your opinion. So, he did what anyone would do in his situation, and he doubled down. He said, fuck it, man. I'm gonna make a sequel. And it's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna have blackjack and hookers, and okay, it's not really gonna have blackjack and hookers, but I'm still gonna make that sequel. So he got to work. He told everybody over at New World Interactive, guys, double down, hunker down, we're gonna make a sequel to Insurgency, and it's definitely gonna have a cool subtitle, and not at all gonna limit us with our selection of maps because of the subtitle. And in doing so, announced in 2016 that Insurgency Sandstorm was going to be releasing soon. And then in 2018, it was released to the world. And a lot like with the original game, people dug it. It's fucking fun. Have you seen the gameplay? You're watching the gameplay now. Does this not look fucking fun to you? Is there something wrong with your fucking fun sensors in your brain, in your dome? What are you, stupid? It's fun! Look at this fucking game, it's awesome! I mean, granted, it's not exactly Half-Life 2. People aren't going to be referring to Insurgency Sandstorm 20 years from now and go, hey man, where's the sequel to that game? But it's a damn good FPS. It's got a super quick time to kill, and loose aiming controls, so it makes it feel like every gunfight you have is super frantic and desperate. And when you clear a room with a good squad, well, that shit just feels like Diet Tarkov. When characters get shot around you, they don't just drop out of the game. They bleed out. They sit on the floor crying, and they program in like writhing animations so that the fights feel a little bit more like Saving Private Ryan than they do like Call of Duty. Hell, some reviewers actually got a little bit of PTSD from playing this game. These fights get real, fucking real. But regardless of the subject matter of the game, that's not to say that the lobbies aren't pure Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 nostalgia feel. If you, for some reason, miss getting told by a 12-year-old on the internet that someone's fucking your mom, well, the good thing is that it didn't really disappear from gaming, it just kind of emigrated to this game. And you know what? If I gotta get told by a stranger that they're banging my mother, then fuck it, man. I mean, this game is worth going through that. I mean, dozens of guns with a staged reload system, immaculate animations that make it so that just the act of shooting itself is fun as balls. And don't even get me started with that blood mist you get when you tag one of your enemies. I mean, shit, man, that makes me feel like Patrick Bateman when he tagged the hooker with the flying chainsaw. Every time. When you start getting shot at, bullets start knocking debris through the air. And because of the respawn delays, everybody still plays this game on edge, even though you're not really at risk of losing anything to a death. Besides team progress, anyway. That Diet Tarkov comparison wasn't really that far off, by the way. You don't have to really keep yourself fed, but you do have to check your magazine to make sure you're blams. You get a stock of supply points to outfit your kit before every game, and you can sacrifice attachments or a better sidearm if you'd rather have the armor or ammo. I do this myself because personally I'd rather be able to take 2 shots to the dick than just 1, but regardless, 1 shot to the head will drop you unless they're shooting you with shotgun pellets. To the game's credit, it's actually pretty realistic when it comes to the ballistics. A lot of the people I've played with online actually refer to the game as a beginner's military sim. Players can also choose to play as a number of different classes. with different weapons mostly, but some actually do have different abilities. Commanders, for example, can work together with observers by marking bombing runs. And observers can go ahead and call it in and then immediately get ganked by friendly fire. I call that plain honey badger because it don't play. Comms are really important in this game, and the game sounds pretty Canadian sometimes because of all the apologizing. By the way, if you know someone affected by friendly fire, I urge you to ask them to get help. It's something we can all beat if we work together. So Insurgency Sandstorm has mod support, a healthy and respectful community, badass gunplay and gameplay, level progression, customization, custom servers, and a groovy chat system that puts a little beep boop every time you go to talk. So why does this game never have more than 2,500 people playing it at any given time? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the developers went out for a pack of smokes and never fucking came back! All I'm saying is, of course a game is gonna die in the fucking water if you don't even try to use the oars. The messed up part is, even with the lack of parental supervision here, this game wants to live. It's fun as fuck. I mean, the only game that really gives me the same anxiety rush that this game does is Tarkov. But with this game, I get the added bonus of not getting my fucking bank account ripped off by Russian hackers. To be clear, that's a joke, because I love Tarkov and they could rip me off all day for that game. But the point still stands. This game is great. Capturing a point in this game makes me feel like I'm fiending for a fucking kill streak like I'm back in high school. It's a really decent game, and I think it really speaks for it that a bunch of people are still playing this game, even though they haven't really supported this game in about a year. If we want to keep up with the earlier analogy about the cigarettes, well, this kid fucking became a drug dealer. So by now you're probably wondering, hey man, you put in the title that you were going to offer ways to fix this. Well, go ahead and sit your ass down, because I got a solution for you. If we're sitting here wondering, how do we fix this troubled youth? I got an answer for you. We whore it the fuck out! Make this sucker free to play, and then just charge him for the cosmetics. That's literally what every other fucking game is doing. You want your terrorists to wear a really fancy fucking rainbow sweater? Good! $1.99! Why not? Hell, take it a step further and put full mod support in there. Not just having mod support, which the game admirably already does, but I'm talking about developer support on this. Pull out the good mods and just put them on a pedestal. If Arma can poop out Battle Royale and make that the newest fucking game mode that everybody loves, why can't Insurgency have somebody rip a rib out and make some new kind of mode where everybody can enjoy something truly innovative? The original Insurgency itself was a source mod, so why not give other young creators an opportunity with this game? All I'm saying is, if New World Interactive plays this smart, this game could become the next Counter-Strike. You know, besides Counter-Strike, because that game ain't fucking dying. The good news is, Insurgency Sandstorm is going to be coming out pretty soon on PS4 and Xbox, and you know what? It's worth your time if you haven't played it yet. If you like frantic shooters that'll make you poop yourself a little every time you get one-tapped by some dude from across the map, really gotta check out Insurgency Sandstorm. What's that? What the fuck is deceit? It's a particularly interesting situation we're in at the moment, isn't it? Like, I want to leave my house more than I ever have before, but I'm actually pretty happy that I've been forced to become more acquainted with my PC. I've already played everything I've got to death, and it's got me hounding the free-to-play area of Steam like a crackhead looking for the next good rock. Yeah, there's nothing really quite like clicking on a game and seeing it get added to your library without going through your credit card details. But honestly, my opinion on free-to-play games is, well, mixed. I mean, on the one hand, you get great free games that anyone can enjoy, but on the other, you get microtransactions, shit quality control, bare bones money grabs, etc., etc. But when that free game is good, it could change the world. Nothing really beats free 99 as a price for entry, and when a game is available to that kind of audience, it can really always perpetually be on the tip of everyone's tongue. Look at Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite. A good rule of thumb on the internet is to judge a game's popularity through meme frequency. The more memes you see of it, the more in the public zeitgeist it is. When it comes to the games I just mentioned, you could barely go more than a couple minutes surfing the web before you hear about any of them. But what if that's damaging to other free-to-play games? Maybe people are becoming accustomed to the quality of those games and aren't exactly willing to consider games with maybe a little bit less polish, but a concept that's so interesting that it, if developed on, it could be revolutionary. I'm talking about a tiny little game with a big old black heart just full of razor wire and smash pumpkins called Deceit. Deceit is a horror-based FPS asynchronous multiplayer game where the main objective of the game is to just run a gauntlet with 5 other players, completing various objectives throughout the level in order to make it further through the gauntlet. It was developed by Automaton Games, I mean Baseline Games, a London-based game studio that is as mysterious as Bruce Wayne's obsession with putting kids in tights and making them fight crazy people. Seriously, I just couldn't find shit about these guys online, and maybe that's intentional since they made this creepy game about fucking around with strangers. Did I mention that, by the way? That this co-op game, and trust me, I'm really implying the heavy air quotes on this one, co-op game is really a 5-minute recreation of the second half of John Carpenter's The Thing over and over again in a multiplayer experience? Seriously, the spiciest part of this whole pina colada is that 2 out of the 6 people in your team are infected with the worst case of the cooties you've ever fucking seen, and they're trying to screw your score through sabotage and subterfuge. The infected members can sabotage quest attempts by the team, and they also have secret objectives to complete themselves, but that's all video game bullshit, right? The real cool part is the psychological aspect of the situation.
Oh wait, he downed Wait, they downed Rachel. They downed Rachel.
Nice.
Wait, what? There's 3 of them left.
I think it.
Why did you down Rachel?
I did down Rachel, but it didn't work.
Why?
Because I think it's him. I used
Who's
lethal
him?
injection, but somebody had an antidote, and it was Lisa.
It's not me.
Rachel. I said Rachel like 50 times.
We can go now if you want. One of us are in the sides.
I think it's Rachel. That's all I've been saying. Rachel. It's a name. I lethal injected Rachel, and then Lisa brought him up real fucking fast. Oh my gosh!
Infected can turn other team members on themselves, and even lead members into ambushes if they're convincing enough. If you can turn other team members against each other, you can get them voted out of the game. As soon as your character gets jump scared out of the game, you can't chat with your team, so infected sometimes kill teams in silence and leave a sole survivor shitting their pants alone for the rest of their match. It's solidly spooky stuff, and an amazing foundation for a fun multiplayer game that gets people being social and talking to each other, even if it is only to trick them into dropping their guard. It's really interesting actually how this game weirdly brings out the best and worst in people at the same time. For example, the first time I dropped into the Manor map, everyone was warm and friendly with each other, super enthused about the game and its premise, but as soon as the lights go out, there's shooting, backstabbing, accusations, and just general rapscallioning, and truth be told, it's actually fucking beautiful, my dudes. I find myself really wanting to get better at this game, if for nothing else, and to just get to fuck with strangers online. It's like a sandbox for trickery. The game is groovy, and well worth your time. And I'm not really going to go into what I would want improved in this game, because A, I want to end this video on a good note, and B, in trying to think of a joke for reason A, I realize that I'm actually pretty happy with the game as it stands. I mean, sure, it could use a wee bit, just a teeny little, tiny little baby amount of polish.
Nice fucking model!
Maybe other deceitful game modes and a bit more depth to the existing objectives would push this game right up most people's alleys. But if nothing else, this is already a great game for people that just want to mess with other people and not be a shitty person because of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what? I'll go ahead and admit it. I am not a smart person. Hell, I might be the dumbest dumber ever dumbed. The fucking mayor of Dumbtown. That's me. The point I'm trying to make here is that I've had Rainbow Six Siege sitting on my hard drive for like months now, and I've never played it until just a couple of days ago. And I know what you're thinking. You haven't played Rainbow Six Siege? That game that lets you fucking imitate that one meme with the FBI guys just fucking coming in and smashing the shit out of someone's house? You know, the one that they announced at E3 2014? Like, 2014? Like fucking 6 years ago? Like I said, I'm fucking stupid. I've been sitting on this golden goose egg of a fucking game and haven't even touched it until recently, and now I'm in love with it. I can't stop fucking playing it. It's all I think about. Well, that and the opening scene from Lost in Translation where you get to see Scarlett Johansson's ass through the panties. I mean, shit, I think about that a lot too. But now I'm thinking about this almost at the same frequency. And honestly, I'm a big fan of the Rainbow Six franchise in general. I've been playing Rainbow Six since I was in middle school. Hell, I was even in a clan for Rainbow Six Vegas when it came out back in the day. Fucking Kino Room, man, that demo is the shit. I guess you could say I'm a Rainbow Six veteran, because I've just been playing these games for the last 10 years. And that makes it all the stranger that it took me this long to get into Siege. But at the end of the day, that might actually be a good thing. From what I heard, when the game was released at first, it was just plagued with all sorts of bullshit. Bugs, crashes, performance issues. Really, like a budget prostitute, you just didn't want to get so close, you know? You didn't know what you were going to get when you got into Siege. Luckily, Ubisoft decided to force feed Siege a little bit of penicillin. If you get me. You get me, right? You guys have had the clap before, right? Not just me? No? Rainbow Six Siege, at first announcement back in 2015, it was just, it wasn't a good product. It was just very buggy, very shitty. It was just hard to play consistently. But after half a decade of fucking improvement, the game is actually pretty goddamn decent now. I mean, as a concept, it's pretty damn solid anyway. 2 teams of 5, 1 attacks, 1 defense, plus a completely destructible environment. Add a couple fucking question marks in there. And profit! Every single round in Rainbow Six Siege is a butthole tightening experience that I wholeheartedly recommend to anybody who hasn't fucking played this game yet. And really, coming in as a new player 5 years later, it's, dude, honestly, the ass whoopings I had to go through to even get the amount of skill that I have now. It's ass whoopings, okay? You gotta go through ass whoopings to get good at this game 5 years later. But it's worth it. It's fucking great. This game is very fun. The destruction in this game isn't so much like Battlefield where it's focused on big, grandiose explosions and whole buildings coming down. It's more small scale. It's very, very tactical. And I don't want to say it's realistic because I don't really think you could hit a wall with a gun butt and have it actually break and see through it, unless you just have really shitty walls. But it's realistic in that every time you spawn in as an attacker or a defender, there's like a palpable sense of just mystery. Like there's no guaranteed lanes that teams are going to take. It's a very dynamic game. It's probably the most dynamic game I've ever played. I mean, even when you play as a defender, I mean, traditionally in other games, defenders usually just kind of camp in one place and just make sure that their sight lines are clear, and whoever pops into a sight line, you hose them down, right? In Rainbow Six Siege, it's not really that easy. Sure, you have an idea of the most used sight lines, or where the enemy is most likely to be passing by, but that changes on a moment-to-moment basis because of the destructibility of all the environments. But even with that, they could have kept all the characters as fucking vanilla wafer fucking Call of Duty create a character cutouts, and still had this game be super dynamic and engaging. But not only did they put in this fucking badass system for destructibility and just overall tactical play that they have now, but they also put in fucking waifus, bro! I mean, shit, dude. You tell someone to dress tactically, you don't expect them to bring out the fucking dump truck. I mean, god damn! I mean, I know I can only see her eyes, but they're fucking piercing me, man. They're piercing into my soul. She sees through me. And I'm not just saying that because she's using her scanner to literally see right through me. The game comes packed with all sorts of different characters. They call them operators in this game. And each one comes with a specific gadget or special skill that helps give you an edge over other operators' special gadgets and skills. One of my favorites is Fuse, because I'm a fucking noob at this game. Not only is he rocking that AK-12, a rifle that a lot of people consider to be the best in the game, but he's also got this nifty little gadget that helps him introduce hockey pucks from hell to the enemy team. Just make sure to not use them when you're trying to get a hostage. Those little fuckers will blow up the hostage too, and then you're not going to get nice words from your team for that one. I mean, granted, you're not really going to get nice words from your team most of the time. Newsflash, I've played Rainbow Six Siege now for about 30 hours. Everyone's a fucking dick in this game. Everyone is a fucking asshole. And I'm not doing too bad, okay? I watch the YouTube videos. I try to keep up with the skills and the meta, you know, as best as I can as a new player. But dude, people are fucking jerks in this game, man. They'll tell you to go fuck yourself. They'll vote you out of the game for like no reason. You try to talk to them, they'll just fucking start yelling at you. I love it. It's great. I'm still having fun with it. I fucking love that kind of shit. I love talking to shit to people online. Hell, some dude sent me a private message with my IP address. I just can't wait for this guy to show up and murder me. I'm fucking excited. Look, really, you're just doing yourself a disservice by not playing this game. It's cheap as shit, and it only gets cheaper every other fucking week. It's worth your time, and it's worth the money. Oh, and one last thing. I'm a sucker for when games let you unlock different ways of playing the game as a sense of progression. Like, when you play a car game and you win races and they give you a fucking paint job, fuck that. I don't care about the fucking color of the car, right? But if they give you a new car, then it's like, oh, wow, I got a new car. I wonder how that car drives. This game does something similar in how you unlock the operators. You start off with just one, the recruit, and he's not... I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings or anything, but he's a piece of shit, and he fucking sucks, and he should really consider not being a character in this game. But as soon as you start getting some matches in, and you start getting renown, which is this game's currency, you get the ability to unlock the proper operators. Because this recruit guy is kind of like the newbie, he's the FNG, you know, they just have him in there so that as a new player you can play around and just kind of understand how the game works. I'm going to tell you, viewer, something that I wish someone would have told me when I was trying to get into this game the first time. Playing as the recruit sucks donkey balls. It's not fun. The real fun part of this game is getting the operators and experimenting with them. And that's how this game has kept me playing, and it's going to keep me playing for a while, because I bought the cheapest version of the game. I don't have any operators, and I've just been slowly but surely getting the renown and buying all the operators. And that's the fun part. The fun part is getting to see what all these different operators kits bring to the table in terms of the gameplay and how you approach situations in the game. But yeah, that's all I have to say on Rainbow Six Siege as a new player getting into it in 2020. It's fucking good. I mean, there's a barrier for entry for damn sure, but it's worth it. It's a very fun and rewarding game, and I definitely recommend the shit out of it. Well, this is a gaming video in 2020, so I gotta end this on a negative note. How do I shit on Ubisoft? Haha! Fucking CD Projekt Red's making more money than you guys in Europe. Suck a dick, Ubisoft. Let's be honest. There's just too many fucking survival games on Steam. And most of them are shitty. But when there's a good survival game, shouldn't it pop up from the rest? I want to tell you guys a story about rat running in Deadside. Our story begins in the south, right next to the southern safe zone, going through Sosnovka on the way to Baragovi, just trying to find some loot, nothing too fancy. I'm not trying to become rich, just trying to sell something. When all of a sudden, well, as is usual for this kind of story, things start getting real. With scavs. Look through the houses enough. Not really a lot of stuff that spawns in here, but God damn. I fucking took some shots on that one. Do you have any bandages? Oh, this fucker's gonna show up and murder me, isn't he? Got him. All day and just tell you how great this game is. But it is! It's great! It's a great fucking game! Ooh, fuck. That's a scav. You got anything in there, boy? Oof. Anyone out there? Can you hear me, God? It's Margaret. Ooh, fuck. Let me see if I can reload this. Okay, cool. Okay. I guess you forgot your job there, buddy? Forgot you're supposed to be murdering dudes like me? Oh, that's alright, pal. I'll just, oh, shit! Okay. Ooh, that fucking tagged me. God damn it. That's bullshit. I totally fucking tagged him on that. Okay, that's one. There's another guy showing up. There we go. Anybody else? I think that might be people. Oh, no. No, these are definitely fucking scavs. God damn, they got a lot of them here today. The sucker. Okay. Bullets. I could always use more bullets, and a gun. I could always use another gun. Oh, that's not at me. I think I hear him. I'm not 100%. Oh, he crumpled over like a sack of potatoes. So, after surviving the scraps at the Baragovi docks, I decided to head back to the Southern Trader and sell off all my shit. Now, as a rat, you're not supposed to have fat stacks, but I did make off with some chubby loot. After selling off all my shit, I decided to head northbound to Yantar just to get into some scraps when I ran into a weird stranger who wanted to give me an omen. Okay. That just happened. What? You're not gonna call me later? Okay. Yantar is a little in-development housing community to the northeast of the Southern Trader. Usually spawns in some pretty decent loot, so I said, why not? I'm gonna head over there and grab some gear. Little did I know that the shit was about to go down. And you know what they say, when the shit goes down, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. Okay, doesn't look like any scabs are on the road. But they'll spawn in. They will spawn in. You know what? Now's a good time for some food. I'm gonna eat this. Oh! I'm still gonna eat my soup, bitch. Not gonna stop me from eating my soup. But yeah, that radio going off, that is the scabs. Actually, I'm gonna fuck off out of here. I can probably take out a couple scabs, but I'm trying to be a rat. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! That scared the bejesus out of me. You see what trying to be a rat gets you? I didn't even know there was a fucking road back there, I swear to God. Oh, anyway, they're gonna be coming up to me. There we are. That's one. Oh, let's try the shotgun out. Just to be cool. Oh. What, now you guys are scared? Is that what this is? Let's go through the back. Oh, fuck! Is that a... No, I think that might be a human. That's human. Oh, fuck me. So now I'm thinking, was that guy at the safe zone a fucking fortune teller? How did he know that some dude would try to shank me? But more importantly, I got shot at and this guy didn't have a gun. So there was someone else out there trying to fucking kill me. I had to figure out more information. So they're still down there. Yo, you still down there trying to ambush me? You can be honest, I mean, you know, one of us is gonna die in this. Okay. You don't expect me to hit this series, so... I'm not liking this. I'm very exposed here. Okay, now I know he's that way. I'm gonna back off, force him to re-engage me. Hopefully he saw me run toward this building. At this point, I had had enough of the random encounters, and I just wanted to go cash in my 6,000 rubles worth of shit. So I started heading northbound to Kamenka, see if I could find some more loot on the way to the northern safe zone. Unfortunately, Kamenka is one of the heaviest populated areas in the map because you're right there next to the military base. So, of course, I had to ran into someone. I think I heard footsteps. Nope. No, it's alright! Hey! He's gonna be anywhere around here. It's gonna be that big house. Nope. But like I said, Kamenka is a very popular spot. People like to spawn here. Yep, I heard him. Sorry, bro. At this point, I'm fresh out of pit stops. I'm doing it. I'm going back to the North Zone, and I'm selling off this cheap shit. But, of course, because this is the dead side, you still gotta run into something, even when you're this close to the fucking safe zone. Is that someone out in the distance? Yes, it is. I'm gonna give him space. They look stacked. Definitely look like they got better gear than me. Oh boy. Oh, Aunt Jemima. Okay. Looks like they stayed on the road. But we are gonna intersect me trying to get into the safe zone too. They might fucking light me up before I can even make it in. I think if I don't run into anybody, I might actually be making it in. Let's see. Oh, of course. Of course. At this point, everything was golden. These guys were actually pretty decent dudes. They asked me if I was the one shooting at randos trying to enter the safe zone, and of course it wasn't me. So after we all decided we were on the same side, we decided to head back to the safe zone together. You know, honestly, this game is just great. It brings strangers together. At the end of the day, I did make it to the northern safe zone, and I did successfully rat run. I made it out of there with about 6,500 rubles, which is big money. Not really, but it was fun, and the important thing is that it was fun. A lot of games out there are designed for you to grind, but Deadside is a game that you can just jump into and immediately have a fun time no matter what you're doing, whether it's raiding military bases or just doing the average rat run. This game is worth your time. Go check it out. Don't listen to the skeptics. Till next time, have a good one. I hate that I'm so conflicted about my opinions on Receiver 2. I mean, on paper, it's a concept that just interests the shit out of me. Receiver 2 is a game that does not automate any aspect of the shooting process. You can't just press a button and reload your gun. Every single thing that you have to perform to reload your gun has a keybind assigned to it that you have to press in sequence to correctly get your weapon to be ready to fire again. Now, having said that out loud, does that not sound super fucking cool? Because it does to me. I've been playing first-person shooters for the majority of my life, and there's no other game out there that really captures the sensation of shooting quite like Receiver 2 does. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that you die in one shot, but there's no other game out there that lets you accidentally shoot yourself in the leg while holstering your weapon. If I could offer praise to one part of this game more than anything else, it really is that the sensation of shooting and the feel of handling your weapon in-game is just unparalleled. You really can't get an experience like this from any other game out there right now. And that's something that kind of passed along from the original Receiver, because the original Receiver was actually thought up as a concept game that was programmed because of a competition that they had 7 days to develop a first-person shooter, and that resulted with the original Receiver, which is also a really interesting, cool game. And that's what has me so conflicted about the game, because the core concept I'm very, very down for. Like, I'm super enthused by the idea of not automating anything and making it so that the gun feels almost malleable, because you have so much control over each aspect of it. You can flip the safety on and off, you can uncock the hammer, you can check the magazine and see how many bullets are in it and load each bullet in manually. It's ridiculous. Hell, you can even pull the magazine out, pull the slide back, manually engage the slide lock, let go of everything, the slide will stay locked, and then you could just put a magazine in and release the slide lock, or you could also pull back the slide. It's... Look, if you're a gun nut, you're gonna get your rocks off to this game. That's guaranteed. But this whole thing begs the question, does a really good concept excuse a game from being shitty as a game itself? You don't shoot people in this game. You don't shoot enemy soldiers. You don't shoot other players. You shoot a bunch of turrets and drones that spawn in mass while you're playing the game. Everything about this game is procedurally generated, so no two playthroughs are ever going to be the same. But the biggest problem with this game is that whatever process is in charge of the procedural generation, it is smoking some really heavy crack, and these levels just end up being more frustrating than anything. They're just not fun to play through. And the game has a ranking system so that if you die, you actually end up returning to the previous level and having to do that level over again before moving forward. And trust me, I know what they're going for. It's a game where you can shoot yourself in the foot accidentally and die if you have a Desert Eagle. They're trying to make it so that it's intense. Everything is very, very tense. You're supposed to move inch by inch. You're supposed to make sure you have a good view on your surroundings. And you're supposed to always be tense. A cool little detail I like about this game is when you look in the mirrors or the windows as you're passing along these procedurally generated levels, your player character is actually a big target. Like you're a human target to these robots. But that being said, it comes across more like they're trying to be deep than anything else. It's weird. While games like Hotline Miami put in meta-narrative stuff and they make it intense and difficult, and it works, Receiver 2 tries the same thing, but for some reason it just doesn't really achieve the same sensation that beating a game like Hotline Miami 2 does. And I don't know whether or not to chalk that off to that it tries too hard or that it doesn't try hard enough. Because Hotline Miami 2 and other difficult games all have carefully curated levels that work with the kind of gameplay that they're trying to get you to adopt. Whereas Receiver 2, since it's all procedurally generated, it doesn't really have that same advantage. And trust me, I know why they made it procedurally generated. It's because they want the player to have replay value. They want this game to be something that players can just always pick up and play, and they're never, well, supposedly they're never supposed to get bored of it. because it's procedurally generated. You don't know what you're going to get when you start the level. But because, as I mentioned before, whatever's in charge of procedurally generating these levels is smoking methamphetamine or something, it ends up just making the game really unfair and unfun to play. And I want to have fun playing this game. I really, really do. It's so much fun to rack a fucking gun and see the fucking bullet actually go in the chamber and then shoot a couple shots off and have a fucking failure to feed, and you gotta sit there and figure out how to fix it. That's in no other game. That's entirely unique to Receiver 2 and the flavor of gunplay that it's dreamt up for itself. But every time one of those drones starts like flying towards me and I miss it because I'm that shit of a shot and it kills me in one hit and makes me have to repeat an hour's worth of procedurally generated bullshit, I really don't want to fucking play this game anymore. And that meta-narrative stuff, I really couldn't tell you why it doesn't land for me, but you know how when you get like a really good like little shock in a game and it kind of twirls your stomach up a little bit, like you feel a little like I wouldn't call it a butterfly in your stomach, but it feels a little bit like somebody's like jamming a finger up your ass and going like, ooh, you feel that at the bottom of your stomach there, boy. Well, the only time I ever got that little like finger up the ass of shock playing this game was when I looked in the mirror and I saw myself as a target. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that ever landed for me. None of the other tapes landed. None of the forced suicide moments landed. None of the supposed atmosphere landed. It was just, for me, it just felt cardboard. It felt just meh. Really, if you pick up nothing else from this review, pick up this. Receiver 2, in some weird way, is completely worth your time. This game is just slick, and I don't regret buying it full price at all. This game, I still find myself going back to play it, if for nothing else because the shooting is just that satisfying. But, if you want to wait for a sale, I don't blame you. This game is... it's just such a cool concept, but I just don't think they really pulled it off in this one. But, hell, support these developers, buy a copy if you like the idea as much as I did, but maybe Receiver 3 will be the big one. I was watching a Joe Rogan interview with Hugo Martin, the creative director of Doom Eternal, and he said something that straight up shocked me. And look, guys, I don't get shocked easy, okay? I watched the ending of the Titanic, and I only cried a little bit. But when Hugo Martin said these words on Joe Rogan's show, the heaviest dingleberry on my taint dropped in absolute shock.
The way you killed him, it's the most violent thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's awesome.
It's so ridiculous. But it's like, it seems like it's okay because it's violence against demons.
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
and we work hard on that. Like, there's no cursing. I have 3 kids. There's no cursing, there's no sex. I do want it to be something that my 9-year-old could play.
Don't.
He wants his fucking 9-year-old to play Doom Eternal? Are we looking at the same game here? You can break a dude's arm and stab him in the face with the broken part. I'll admit, I haven't seen a Saturday morning cartoon in a while, but even in the 90s, the Thundercats never took someone's liver out and fed it to them. This game is undeniably, unrelentingly, unapologetically violent. And it is fucking beautiful. blood splatter, the gibbing, the entire atmosphere of this game was conditioned into making you feel like the Doomslayer, a mythic being categorized entirely by his capacity to kick ass and never worry about how much bubblegum the demons have. He's a person that, by every rule of physics, shouldn't really be able to function. He runs at 30 miles per hour at all times, he can hold 8 heavy-ass guns at all times, he can double jump, air dash, and check his Instagram account at all times. He's less of a character than a force of nature, really. I mean, the game itself categorizes his fury as inevitable. Like, if things get out of hand between demons, angels, humans, or what have you, Doomslayer just shows up as a kind of elemental reset switch. You know, he's inevitable, like gravity. He'll get rid of your demon problem, sure, but he can't stop doing it at full throttle because the momentum keeps him going. The game itself is designed around this, in case you didn't realize. You're encouraged to always keep moving and pushing forward, if for nothing else than to replenish resources. Hell, Doomguy even has a magic chainsaw that turns demons into ammo fountains. If Doomguy cuts open a regular soldier, would that dude also explode into ammo? What I'm getting at is that Doom Eternal really is, well, video game as fuck. Way back in the day, I grew up playing classic Doom in hushed whispers and dark rooms. I was a kid, I wasn't supposed to be playing that shit. And back in my youth, games had a certain feel to them. They weren't anywhere as good looking as we have games looking now, so they had to work with their available graphical fidelity and the player's imagination to convey the game's vision through input.
Input. More input.
Think about it like this. Snake went into Shadow Moses in a blizzard. As a player, you deal with a fixed perspective that makes it hard to see freely. He was taken out of retirement, and now he's rusty. The game itself has wonky controls and generous auto-aim to show his experience. But he's still a sneaky badass, so he's gotta be sneaky. As a player, you get access to the Soliton radar that lets you cheese the guard's view and feel like the sneakiest sneaker that ever sneaked. Games didn't really have universal control schemes like they do nowadays, so each game kind of experimented with ways to connect the player to the character through the input. Since the 90s had the rise of 3D platformers too, a lot of those included double jumps to make it easier to gauge your leaps with the increased margin for error. A lot of different video games included double jumps, and through public zeitgeist, double jumps just kind of inherently became a video game thing. Basically, I say double jump, you say video game. That shit doesn't just occur in nature, you get me? You'll never see a fucking raccoon double jump outside of Sly Cooper, and if you do, Kevin, please, take your meds, because we're all worried about you. Actually, in including the double jump in this game, I feel like id was trying to make a statement. That statement being, please, bless our new metal lord, Mick motherfucking Gordon, in titties and beer. Hey everybody, this is a shoddy edit that I threw in last minute because of this whole drama with Mick Gordon. Yo! Bethesda, you done fucked up, bro. You fucked up, Bethesda. You done fucked up. Bethesda. Bethesda. Hey, you done fucked up. You fucked up, Bethesda. You done fucked up. You really fucked up. But really, I think it's more that games that are games still need to exist, and that not every AAA big release needs to look like a new HBO series. The real beauty of Saturday morning cartoons is that, just like in that G.I. Joe episode of Community, nobody really dies, and everything usually goes back to the status quo before the end of the episode. It's junk food entertainment at its finest, and just like the Fast and the Furious franchise, nothing really matters. Sure, you just blew up that one guy, but there's like 40 other guys in the same room that look just like him. There's no real consequence to anything in Doom. Hayden says, oh, you best not go up and blow up Mars, and Doom guy's like, yeah, whatever. The game is built about forward momentum, endless aggression, and justified violence. They're demons. Fuck them, right? I got some badass music playing through the Spotify app in the Doomslayer's helmet, and I just turned that one guy into an ammo pinata through the power of dismemberment. What Hugo Martin really meant in that interview with Joe, That's Cool Man, You Ever Tried DMT Rogan, is that he let his kid play Doom Eternal because the violence won't scar you. The game makes it adamantly obvious that you're playing a game. But also because there's no demon titties, you know? Parents still have a problem with demon titties. I have been tainted by Tarkov. Ever since I started playing Slav Simulator 2017, I just can't enjoy a good gunfight anymore unless there's a degree of butthole-tightening terror involved. And trust me, losing all your shit to a death is harsh. But losing all your shit to a single bullet making it to the part of your brain that thinks about Paris Hilton's film career is fucking-infuriating. But the idea of permadeath is so exciting. It's like gambling. When you get the lows, it sucks. But when you get those highs, it's fucking awesome. I've had some success in games like Insurgency and the Stalker mod, Call of Chernobyl. But Insurgency is a little too fast-paced, and Stalker just doesn't have that polish that I need, or the human element of multiplayer. Luckily, I got Steam to peruse and abuse, and I found myself an early access gem that hits the perfect balance between bullshit and hardcore shit that is essential for a fun tactical experience. I'm talking about Ground Branch. A tactical shooter that has maybe the most forgettable name I've heard in my entire fucking life. Ground Branch is a tactical FPS developed by Blackfoot Studios, a game developer that includes one of the art asset creators for the Rainbow Six series, and the game was developed from the ground up to be a blisteringly hardcore anti-terrorism simulation extravaganza. I grew up playing Rainbow Six 3 when I was a kid, and I gotta tell you, this game has just about the same feel as that game did, with 20 times the polish. It's the kind of game that has borderline jump scare like deaths and revolves entirely over split-second decisions and crossing open fields whilst almost shitting your pants. It has a big selection of real-life weapons platforms and a gun customization option that allows for stupid shit like this. And honestly, I think it's pretty fucking cool. And I'm sure if you got some sense between your floppy ass ears, Terry, then you probably think it looks pretty cool too.
I probably just freaked someone out called Terry right now. I hope that they didn't have floppy ears, because I didn't really want to hurt their feelings, so, I'm sorry, floppy ear Terry. Wasn't nothing personal, bro. My bad.
The too long didn't listen version of this video is this. This game is early access right now, and it's cheap and crude. But potential for greatness is here, folks. The shooting and mechanics so far are solid as hell, and the developers are pretty stoked about soon coming updates, so I'm thinking that things are about to pick up for this rough little diamond. That said, if you're looking for a game that's all about sharp reflexes and thinking before you shoot, Ground Branch is definitely worth checking out. Remedy Entertainment is a video game industry treasure at this point. Like Criterion, id, and that guy who makes nude bots for the Resident Evil remakes, its contributions to gaming have been nothing but positive. They started as a company back during the naughty 90s from former demo scene enthusiasts, and started making moves in a garage, just like the Wild Stallions. Demo scene is a kind of subculture of nerds that really like making trippy 3D visuals to flex their programming skills. So they were basically alpha nerds. And what do alpha nerds like doing more than anything? They like to flex it like Mandark. Remedy started making proper games during the mid-90s, and a couple years later in 2001, they got their big break in the industry and released Max Payne to critical praise and a bunch of grateful shut-ins. Myself included. The game is still fun to this day, and well worth your time with it. The gunfights are frantic, desperate, and weirdly graceful through the bullet time and difficulty. Max is more fragile than my grandma, and a lot like her, only a bullet or two will take him out. So you really gotta abuse the bullet time to scrape out progress through the firefights. And the progress is worth it. The story's a little basic in that Max is basically the Punisher with a drug problem, but it's presented well enough with cool comic panels and interesting introspection from Max himself. Honestly, middle school me thought that this shit was deep, and the delivery from James McCaffrey is just instantly cool. It's almost as if this guy was born to play a depressed dude who's too good at killing to die, and his performance acts as the perfect little bow to keep this carnage concoction combined.
There was a blind spot in my head, a bullet-shaped hole where the answer should be. Call it denial.
Upon the critical and financial success of Max Payne on PC and console through the help of publisher Rockstar Games, Max Payne was greenlit for a sequel, and in 2004, Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, was released to, again, a shitload of critical praise. I love this game to death, and personally it's my favorite from the trilogy. The presentation is less amateurish, and the story is a bit more engaging through its depth. Max has been exonerated from all the murders from Max Payne 1, and he goes to work at the NYPD as a detective. And then there's conspiracy, betrayals, haunted houses, hot makeout sessions. Honestly, this game's got it all. They added that groovy Havoc physics engine that was all the craze back in the day, loads more guns, messed with the bullet time a little bit to make Max feel more like Neo, but they also took away Max's signature smirk. You know the one, where he looks like he's trying to tie a cherry knot stem with his booty hole. Max Payne 2 didn't sell as well, unfortunately, but Remedy was still hot shit, and Microsoft knew it. So, in 2012, with Microsoft Publishing, they released Alan Wake. And I really want to talk about Alan Wake, but I'm going to save everything that doesn't have anything to do with our favorite New Jersey native for another video. Another game born out of the Microsoft Remedy partnership is Quantum Break, a game that really should be mentioned in a dictionary definition of the word. Not that the game itself is bad, it just feels like one of those game by committee kind of things where they kind of kill the concept through bloat. Like seriously, who thought someone would want to sit through a half hour of TV between levels? Like maybe Microsoft was just trying to flex budgets at people or something. Who knows? But whatever. After that stint, Bill Gates and Sam Lake went their separate ways. Unless you're reading one of my fanfictions. Remedy went on to develop a deal with Epic Games and release Control, a game that, mark my words, will be on one of those underrated classics YouTube compilations in a couple of years. Guaranteed. If you haven't played it, you're dumb. Okay? You're Dumbo head. Okay? Or you have bad taste. Or you're broke. That's literally the only 3 reasons why you haven't played Control yet, okay? Or it should be. Because this game has enthralled me in ways that I have never felt before. Last time I was so enthralled by something, it was the first time I saw boobs, okay? Go play Control. And I want to talk about it, but I'm going to do that in another video also. Remedy has done good, okay? And in introducing Max Payne to the world, they showed that they know what to do to make a compelling game, even with limited resources. That confuses me so much as to how Rockstar Games, a company with unlimited resources, could mess up Max Payne 3 so much! I'm a Rockstar fanboy, alright? Personally, I think that when it comes to presentation, writing, and overall entertaining concepts, they've always been on point. But when it comes to Max Payne 3, it's like they forgot to stop doing whippets in the corner before development started. You've seen 100 videos criticizing Max Payne 3, but really you should go check out Racevix. My video is the equivalent of Flavor Flav yelling, "Yeah boy," after Chuck D says some real shit. Go check out Racevix. Consider this video an addendum. The gunplay is fine. Guns shoot, and at the time they were animated with more detail than ever before, but nowadays they look like poo-poo. Actually, that's something that's exclusive to this Rockstar game from the 8th generation. While GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, and Midnight Club LA still look good to this day, more impressive since only one of those is on PC, Max Payne just doesn't really... well, it's not ugly. Well, it is, but intentionally so, right? It's the world of Sao Paulo, Brazil, seen through the eyes of a drunk pillhead ex-cop, so it makes sense that it's not that visually appealing, but there's just something about this game that makes it look shitty. And no, I don't mean that man on fire filter that starts annoying the shit out of you within 10 minutes of starting the game. God, this sucks. I don't think I'll ever be able to put a word to it, but maybe it's the anti-aliasing? Like, it's just ugly, okay? Maybe my eyes are dumb, but whatever, it's ugly to me. The gunplay in the game is fine, barring Max's tendency to stand up mid-firefight and give the enemies a freebie. Not that they'll need it. These guys have armor so good that you can dump 2 AK mags into them and they'll just ask you about the release date of the next FIFA. And they'll ask you that because they're dumb. They will rush the hell out of you with no self-preservation, and barring that, will hunker down behind cover until you take a shot, because they are designed to piss the player off, not give them a challenge. Not that they need any smarts, they outnumber you 100 to 1. And that's always really been the dark joke of Max Payne's existence as a character. He's never happy, he wants to die, but he's just really good at killing people. That's kind of his thing. That's why the games keep sending squad after squad after him, because he can take it. But the thing is, the levels in Max Payne 3 are literal friggin' tunnels that push Max, our turd-like main character, through the poop chute. There's no room to maneuver. You're basically forced to keep ducked behind cover and take shots like a turtle with weapons training. And if you do try to make moves or have fun in the game, you get struck down with the power of 1,000 suns. Max Payne 1 and 2 let the player progress at their own pace, and even gave them moments of levity through exploration and trippy dream sequences. But what does Max Payne 3 give you? Cutscenes. Every 3 frickin' minutes. I play through Max Payne 2 every other week as a sort of junk food game to give me time to catch up on my shows. But I can't stomach the idea of having to slog through Max Payne 3's annoying story breaks any more times than I need to. It's just boring after the first time, and even playing in arcade mode you have to sit through connecting scenes between gameplay sequences. This whole game is designed to make you watch rather than play, and that applies even more to the game's death system. When you die, you're stuck in slow-mo trying to get a shot off on the guy that got you, but if you're out of ammo, you just have to sit there and awkwardly stare into your killer's eyes as you die. Usually in a pose that makes it look like you don't want to get up and get your bagel bites out of the microwave. Look, I could smack talk this game some more, but to be honest, it just doesn't really deserve it. Rockstar tried. It's not their fault that the baby they were trying to deliver ended up being a really convincing turd. They got way too up their own asses to make a good game, and they were too focused on making playable demo scene for the Rage engine. Max Payne is great as a trilogy, but play the third for the conclusion of the story instead of for the gameplay. The biggest problem it has is that Rockstar developed it like a movie instead of a game. They wanted to show off the big scripted sequences that were all the rage back in the day, but all they did was neuter the single player for a multiplayer that was just never going to beat the big dogs at the time anyway. If you want to try shooting dudes in the face in bullet time, why not try out Trepanning 2? Game's free on Steam. Why is everything open world nowadays? 12-year-old me would hate me for even asking that question.
See, back during the PS2 era of gaming, when GTA 3 was the freshest thing since M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's twist endings, I got upset every time a level came to an end and kicked me into a loading screen. But we're in the future now. Loading screens have become pretty much instantaneous, and now every single game seems like it's trying to cram more and more square kilometers up gamers' asses. What happened to pacing and storylines? What happened to plot urgency? Far Cry New Dawn goes on and on about how important it is to upgrade your home base, and how so many people are counting on you for their survival in this post-nuclear apocalypse, but I guess I don't really mind the savior of the people fucking off for in-game leaks to go collect MP3 players or tend to their burgeoning pot garden. It's genre bloat to the point of ridicule. If I gave you 30 seconds to give me a list of 10 open-world first-person shooters, you could probably list twice as many games off, and that's ignoring the sequels. Why have we reached this point? How have we reached this point? Should I quote Jeff Goldblum here and say that we were so focused on whether or not we could, that we didn't really wonder if we should? Don't get me wrong, I just finished playing Metro Exodus, and that game is pretty fucking legit. But would it have suffered if it was a more traditionally linear experience like the earlier Metro titles? I read a CNN article that claimed that less than 10% of players are actually completing single-player experiences, and I think that might be the reasoning that publishers are hiding behind to make the push towards open-world sandbox-style games. If a player doesn't want to make the commitment of playing through a linear story and seeing what a game has to offer, why not open all the possibilities up and allow the player to nibble through them and see what they want to see first? It's like the allure of a buffet versus a full-course meal. You paid to eat, so fuck 'em, you're getting dessert first. There's nothing wrong with that if the game is designed to work that way, like GTA and Breath of the Wild is. In these games, the narrative revolves around the player character's everyday struggles, and some of the most fun you can have is scraping by with the bare minimum. On the other hand, you have games like Ghost Recon Breakpoint that do nothing but turn up plot urgency and stack cards against the player, but all the game really does is tire the player out and sap motivation from them in square kilometer increments. I'm a huge nerd if you can't tell. No, really, I'm bad as fuck. But I really don't think that Halo would have worked as well as it did if it just dropped the Master Chief off and said, hey, go do your thing. The plot and the level design funneled you through 30 seconds of fun over and over till the game was done and you got some canonical interspecies cuddling going on. I just think that games should take a step back from forcing open worlds down our throats and let us have some nice, curated campaigns that make us want to finish the fight. I want to see more games like Far Cry Instincts and Crysis that have huge open levels and allow players to progress through them however they want. Or do something like Destroy All Humans did. That game had a bunch of tiny independent open worlds that allowed a change in scenery between each one. Actually, Metro Exodus did that too, and the game is, as previously mentioned, pretty fucking legit. The way it blends intense linear segments with big open worlds to traverse through allow for game stories that rival anything I've seen in any other media. There's a fight with a giant mutated grizzly in this game, and it makes you shit your pants like no Deathclaw could ever hope to. Curated shit is the future, and I, for one, am good with the amount of open worlds out there for now. If you're making games open world entirely based around the free roaming, please go for it. But if you want to save some cash, try going for a more linear design for your game. You might end up making something pretty cool.
Look, man, I'm serious, okay? I saw this with my own eyes.
Oh, I believe you, buddy. I believe you. Just tell us a story. Tell us a story.
Okay, well, it was last Friday night. I was walking home from the bar, and this woman started coming towards me. She was staggering, you know, so I figured she was drunk.
One morning, someone at Capcom got up and knew that their job today would be of the utmost importance for the development of one of their company's biggest games. It would be monumental in its statement to other game developers about their standing in the industry, and in being the first thing players see in the game, it would cement the value of the product that they just purchased. This morning, this Capcom employee picked up a burger before he went into the office. It's no surprise that the opening scene of the Resident Evil 2 remake got people excited, but probably not in the way a lot of people anticipated. To their credit, Capcom knew this shit looked impeccable. I mean, look at it. It looks good.
I want to eat the TV.
I mean, I'm not sure if Gordon Ramsay would eat it, but my stoned ass most certainly would. And it's all pixels and polygons. I mean, what kind of timeline do we live in that Biff Tannen is president and we have burgers in our games that look this good? The answer is, of course, a very expensive timeline. Where the original Resident Evil 2 cost $1 million to develop over the course of a year, its remake cost a metric shitload more. Because even if we kept its budget at the 1996 original's budget of about $1 million, which is still unrealistic as hell for the 2019's game industry standard, you still gotta multiply that up by 5, because that's how many years it took for the RE2 remake to get developed. No matter how you cut it, game development is an expensive process nowadays, but it didn't always used to be. Games like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Whiplash, Dr. Muto, Aggressive Inline, Cold Winter. These are all games that, quite literally, not a single soul on Earth gives a single shit about, except maybe Nitro Rad. But they all got greenlit and released by AAA publishers anyway. Rest in peace, Midway. Sure, we get these now with stinkers like Rise, Son of Rome, but as an industry, with the price of game development being so high, we can't really afford the early aughts philosophy of seeing what sticks with players. Nowadays, they just focus test for that shit. We went from seeing passion projects like Silent Hill 2 changing the games industry forever to endless sequels and Silent Hill as a franchise getting shelved because people don't buy survival horror anymore. It's a zoo's share of bullshit, but it's understandable. I mean, why is Papa Activision gonna get you the Ferrari that is a new prototype game when you're all happy snuggling up with your Call of Duty Honda Civic Edition? The mentality for the current AAA games development culture is just that there's no point in throwing your money away. And of course that makes sense, but it's disheartening that all we really have to look forward to for gaming is just new developments and Skinner box technology to keep you reaching for your wallet for the newest skins. Luckily, we get the occasional bright spot for the fledgling game auteur in getting games like Death Stranding, but Hideo-san's got like 40 years in the industry and legions of fans begging for that kooky Kojima cock, so of course he got that blank check reputation. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're getting experimental games like Second Sight with any more frequency than we did before, because it's just still not realistic to expect a budget for a AAA passion project in a climate where a lot of companies are lucky to just not be a part of EA. It kinda sucks too, because there's not really a solution to this problem. It's just kinda something we have to learn to live with. It really is the market we live in that fucks it up for us, but the good thing is, there are workarounds. A photorealistic burger is expensive, but a stylized burger is a lot cheaper and quicker to produce. It might even look as good if you try hard enough. Hell, why not cel shade the sucker? It holds up better with time anyway, right? And if not that, why not try crowdfunding for a better looking burger? If your burger sounds tasty, I'm sure people will throw down to try it. Unless it's Mega Man Legends 3. We're never gonna get him off that planet, guys. The current AAA gaming industry is shaping up to be a lot like Hollywood, and that pretty soon it's going to be hard to get films like Die Hard made, cause, hey man, Bruce Willis is a comedian, he's not an action hero. As opposed to being super easy to get movies like Lethal Weapon 4 made, cause there's a 4 in that fucking title, and you best believe that sequels are guaranteed profit. But if Kevin Smith can go and make an industry award-winning movie with Clerks off of a budget of maybe half an ounce of weed and free gum for the cast and crew, then people will still be able to make AAA visuals happen, even without that AAA budget. And failing that, really, who gives a shit? You don't necessarily need photorealism to make a great game. Indie studios have been proving that for years with pixel art and stylized graphics, and I for one don't mind playing games with PS2 graphics as long as the concept is strong enough. Long story short, the AAA industry has decided to suck its own pee-pee with this realism shtick, but I personally think that it's gonna blow up in their face. Giggity. Unless they take steps to curb the rising costs of game development, they might actually force the industry into a crash like back in the 70s. I mean, granted, they have tried to curb the cost a little bit with stuff like procedural game development and pre-optimized engines to curb the brunt of the cash use, but that kind of stuff doesn't really help too much when you're chasing that true-to-life looking burger. All you can really do for that is just throw money at a team until it looks that good. Personally, I can't wait to see how the AAA industry shapes up to look in a couple years. We're at the brink of a new console generation, and games like Cyberpunk 2077 still show some kind of passion, regardless of its budget. So let's see how it goes. But remember, that burger doesn't have to look good for it to be tasty. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, then fuck you. But if you did, I'm anxious to know what you thought about it. Just leave me a comment down below on your point of view, and toss me a like if you don't feel like writing. But till next time, see you later.
Let me know if you have another flea market. I will help you, or you will help me.
You got that right, teacher. Thanks a lot.
New World Entertainment, listen up, because your buddy, Heffy G, that's me, has some free game ideas that he's throwing your way. Now, I may just be a lowly, low-tier mechanical engineer with no formal game development experience, though I did work security in a game studio once. Shout out to Shiver. But this quarantine has me poor and miserable, and what comes from that is long nights awake thinking about ways that things could be better. You know, a lot of other people have bigger things to worry about, like food and shelter and not getting attacked in riots. But since I've been stuck inside playing video games, forced to live off of my life savings, I can't stop thinking about ways to make an existing first-person shooter better. I know, I suck, I know, I'm sorry. I'm gonna toss you some softballs before I make a big ask, okay? Just to show that I'll be reasonable. You don't even need to pay me. I mean, it'd be pretty nice if you paid me, but you don't have to. You could donate, maybe, if you want to do that. I mean, it's up to you. I'm not really. You know what? Let's just get on with it. The first one is simple. Just give us a hardcore mode. Not every PvP mode has to be a wall of death with everyone running in with their dicks out. Take away air support, drop the player numbers, make it lives-based, if not round-based. Your maps have people rushing in from opposite sides of big scattered passageways, pretty much covered in buildings, and other kind of camping spots for ambushes. Imagine going into a PvP situation tense as hell, not really worrying about getting kill-streaked by some douches that you can't even see, but instead primed, moving into an area inch by inch, knowing like your buddy's got your back, you got his. That's the kind of feel that Insurgency could have, instead of always feeling like that meme of the FBI guys breaking into some dude's house. The second one, although brave, could also be put into the game pretty easily, I think, and people would really dig it. It's a little mode. You might have seen it before, but it's called Team Deathmatch. Like, come on, guys. I'm not trying to be mean, but look at this footage of 2007's Modern Warfare 2 on Steam in 2020. I'm so secure about this that I'm writing it before I record it, and if I'm wrong, I'll leave it in the video to show what a big old ignoramus I am. But I'm not, right? The highest population playlist is Team Deathmatch, right? That's because it's simple. and a great warm-up for other modes. Take some shit, and go kill the other guys. You die, no worries, man. Just go out there and get him again. You know who the real MVP is? The guy that flips kids over if they flip their go-kart at the track because he lets those kids keep having fun. That guy's like the Grim Reaper in my analogy. He just throws you back in there like, come on, you little bastard, just go kill the insurgents, go do your thing. This third idea of mine is a big commitment of resources, but doable with the given framework of the game. If my first idea was a hardcore mode, then this one is butt stuff. Your big ass maps, fully open. You drop 4 players in at opposite sides of the map. Every player enters with an M1911 with 2 magazines, and is tasked with scavenging randomly generated weapons platforms and gear in random spots around the map. The objective, of course, being to cross the map and reach the other side alive. Caveats being that random AI patrols are spawned around the map, and the other humans that spawn in with you can kill you for your gear. Towards your goal, the AI is too strong to pass by with your starting equipment, so you gotta loot. The more loot you make it out of the map with, the more experience you gain at the end of the match. All the pieces are there for you to implement something this cool, besides maybe a system for placing equipment randomly, but it could be done. Only 4 players allows for the engine optimization you'd need to add a scavenging system to the game, and the people would really dig the hell out of doing runs with friends or against their friends. Hell, you could even add cosmetic items or special weapons that you can only pull out of a raid. Of course, you can fight the other players in your lobby, but the main point of it all is to just escape. It's almost like if you'd be catering to a more casual and open market that other escape type game can't really reach. You know, if there's 2 things that I love in this world, it's cyberpunk shit, and anything that has anything to do with Hotline Miami's trippy drug-filled presentation. You see, I'm a Miami native myself, and there's nothing that we appreciate more down here than drugs and grime. This new game I've been playing called Project Downfall is chock full of that shit like a really gross Hot Pocket. Project Downfall is a early access game on Steam developed by MGP and Solid 9 Studios, which, guys, is that a dick joke? That's a dick joke, right? I think that's a dick joke. You play as a dude called Jan Vik. Okay, yeah, his name's not really Jan Vik. I don't think he has a name. But he definitely looks like a guy in another video game, right? You know the guy I'm talking about, right? This guy! He looks like this guy. Why would you want to play as this guy, you're probably thinking? Well, I'll tell you why, dear viewer. It's because he's a badass. And he also has a serious drug problem. But that's okay, though, because in this post-dystopian future, drugs give you superpowers! You'll use the power of the pills to beat and shoot the ever-loving shit out of endless swarms of identical-looking henchmen. And personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. The game is tight and strenuous. Every single move you make in this game makes you feel like you are putting your life on the line. It is great. It actually reminded me a lot about playing Hotline Miami and how at times you just get so angry you just play through the whole level in a blind range and somehow survive it all. This game ends up giving you the same feeling. It's almost entirely Twitch based and just insane. What kind of insane are we talking here? Well, there's a level where you go into a fucking BDSM sex dungeon and end up having to murder everybody in there, including the Gimp ladies. Because, there's Gimp ladies. Not only are there Gimp ladies, but there's also Russian fucking ninjas in here too. Look at this guy. Thinks he's slick because he came in with the teddy bear. Pop to the shoulder. The game's story is pretty interesting too. In its universe, the world that we know has come to an end. The European Union has dissolved to make way for corporations to take over instead of a traditional government. You know, like real life. And your character is just a regular office worker dude. Respectable yuppie by day and drug-filled vigilante by night. Just like me during college. As a player, you get to choose when to dose up, who to spare, and other aspects of your main character's story. I actually really like the dosing aspect as well, because it makes the game harder to try to play through with a clear mind. You even get a bonus at the end of every stage. When you take your pills, everything goes into slow motion and you get to pull off a Max Payne impersonation on a whole bunch of Russian goons. But when you try to do the same level without taking any drugs, you will have a significantly harder time. And I gotta tell you, I'm a big fan of this. It makes it harder if you want to be the good guy. And I think that's fucking cool. I also think it's fucking cool how when you don't take the drugs, it ends up becoming a more hardcore Hotline Miami-like experience. Look, I said it before and I'll say it again. This game is all about quick reflexes and twitch movements. The characters in this game act very similar to the characters in Hotline Miami because they don't really have any set patrols. You kind of have to just work with what you got. The game is currently early access and they're still adding plenty of stuff to it, but the stuff that is there is pretty fucking awesome. They've already implemented branching storylines, multiple endings, and a damn catchy dynamic synth soundtrack. Seriously, I can't really put into words how much I enjoy the soundtrack. It's like John Carpenter fucking Johnny Five from Short Circuit, but in a good way. You can go on Steam and pick this game up for $15.99 right now, and I gotta tell you, it is worth every goddamn penny. If you want to check out the game still, but you don't want to spend any money on it, go check out the demo that's also on Steam. It's completely free, and it gives you a little slice of the game so you can see if you enjoy it as much as I did. Well, that's about all the time I got for today, guys. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please like, comment, or subscribe. I only have 200 subscribers, so if you leave something down there, you bet your ass I'm gonna read it. As we leave, I leave you with this footage of me being better than G-Man Lives, because, yeah, someone needed to say it, and it's me. I'm saying it. G-Man lives, you Australian bastard. I am better than you at this one particularly niche game. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've been playing the Just Cause franchise since the first one released on the original Xbox back in 2006. Personally, I ignored the weird run animation for that macro level gameplay and the amount of explosions that the player could cause. You know, back when Rico Rodriguez was an Antonio Banderas ripoff and those games really followed video game narratives are optional school of thought. The story sucked. Everyone said it, no one denied it. Avalanche Studios didn't really have the brilliance of a dedicated grapple button yet, so the original's real saving grace was the scale of the game. While GTA and True Crime only gave you a city or two and some countryside, if you were lucky, Just Cause would let you dick around an entire country. 1,000 square kilometers! Keep in mind that this is even more impressive because it was on the original Xbox. This is a PS2. The game let you do whatever you wanted to destabilize an island nation, and it had a certain charm around the whole premise. More like a Hollywood romp than international terrorism for a government coup.
Which was what the game was actually about.
But screw that! I can fly up to the stratosphere and skydive for 10 fucking minutes straight! That's awesome! Avalanche Studios immediately began development on a sequel, and luckily were granted another shot after the modest success of Just Cause 1. Just Cause 2 was pretty different.
I've taken lives, incited civil wars, and destabilized nations. I thought I was done. But I was wrong.
Just Cause 1 is Antonio Banderas from Spy Kids 3D. Just Cause 2 is Antonio Banderas from El Mariachi. You see what I'm getting at here? This game blew the hell up. A lot of people consider it a classic, and it's not really that hard to see why. Avalanche improved on every aspect of the original. The graphics, stunning in art direction, and great to look at from the sky. The gameplay, the controls were simplified and they polished everything in the experience off to a mirror sheen, including one of the most interesting transportation methods in any game, parachute grappling. I know. We want to keep talking about the multiplayer mod and all the cool DLC that they released for it, but I want to keep this one moving, folks. So, moving on. Just Cause 3 followed along the excellent sequel 5 years later in 2015, but unfortunately, while the game was hella sharpened up in the game concepts department, introducing a more interesting plot and the really fun wingsuit to mess around with, the game from release was plagued with a number of game-breaking bugs and performance issues. On the Xbox One, where I had originally purchased the game, it wouldn't run at more than like 15 frames a second when the action got hectic, and would only really chug along at like a movie-like 20-something frames when taking a leisurely cruise in the faux Mediterranean countryside in my faux Mediterranean sports car. I wanted to like Just Cause 3, really, but Avalanche Studios just kinda goofed on it. Not really that surprising, considering that this new Just Cause game was helmed by their New York studio that was recently opened, instead of the people in Stockholm that had all the experience from the other games. Talk about Stockholm Syndrome, right? Kill me. Also, Just Cause 3 is Antonio Banderas from Assassins with Sylvester Stallone, because he dies at the end. Spoilers! Just Cause 4 followed along in 2018, but by then audiences had mostly checked out of the franchise after being let down by the third entry, and that included myself. I didn't really care about following along on Rico's explosion-propelled world tour after the third game in the series pooped its pantaloon so vigorously. That's why I wanted to make this video, guys, to let you know that I am a whore. And Just Cause 4 actually isn't that bad. I got this game free from the Epic Store and had it sitting in my library before I finally decided to load it up and mess around in it. I gotta be honest, I didn't really expect much when it started up and just played like an actual playable version of the third game, but that first time I saw a tornado in the distance, I yipped right the fuck into it with a huge smile on my face. Honestly, they could have put this on the box. Just Cause 4. It's not very different from Just Cause 3, but it's playable now. The gameplay has been refined down to a science, and everything about the world and your interactions with it has really satisfying weight to it. I'm not usually a fan of open world game design that doesn't really give you some guidance for moving through the game, but Just Cause 4 really does it right. From the outset, the players are encouraged to roam the country of Solus and find activities to inspire chaos in the people, and that allows you to progress forward with liberating the country. You know, politics. Where's that fucking laughter coming from? What's different is how these tie into player progression. There's a cast of side characters, and completing missions and tasks for each one allows you to modify your existing equipment in ways that allow the absolute pinnacle of fuckery. Add balloons to your grapples and launch stuff into the air. Add boosters and rocket-propel stuff into other stuff. Add a text to her DMs and maybe she'll love you again. I miss you! You complete me! They did some other small things to improve the experience that I could appreciate too. The main menu loads you right into the game world, so there's no downtime between booting up the game and blowing up some shit. And they finally added radio stations to the game and made the cars pretty fun to drive in an arcadey Fast and Furious way. Seriously though, Lowe's Doug Dugs? Smog is the fucking jam. And I would have never heard of this song if it wasn't for Just Cause 4's radio system. Hell, one small thing that I really like about this game is how they dropped the player's ammo count and made the game more about scavenging weapons from bad guys and using your grappling hook in creative ways. You ever wanted to be a Latino Spider-Man? Okay, well, yeah, Miles Morales, makes sense. But you ever wanted to be a Latino Spider-Man with guns and infinite parachutes? Well, here you go! At the end of the day, the differences between Just Cause 4 and Just Cause 3 are actually pretty minimal. But since Just Cause 3's framework was so strong, that's actually a good thing in Just Cause 4's case. It took all the problems that Just Cause 3 had technologically speaking, and ironed them out to leave the goodness that Just Cause 3 had sitting inside of it all along. Look, Just Cause 3 was a delicious nougaty center just jammed in the middle of a giant turd, right? Just Cause 4 had someone go in, carefully clean around the nougat, disinfect the nougat, and give you some delicious nougaty center, but you gotta remember that the only reason that that nougat is that good is because it was fermenting in a giant turd, which was Just Cause 3. Okay, there's no way to make that sound good, but just trust me, okay? Just Cause 4 is a good fucking game. Seriously though, if you want to enjoy yourself a good action game that doesn't really deal too much with plot stuff, go check out Just Cause 4. It's actually worth your time. But until next time, I'm Heffy G, and I love you. Have a good day. Hope you take care of yourself today.
I've been playing games for a long time. And when I was a kid, any game would keep my attention completely, but that doesn't really happen anymore. When I was younger, my grandfather picked up on movie cliches and could pretty accurately guess how most movies were gonna go, and I feel like the same thing has happened to me to some extent with video games. Most games just kind of feel the same to me nowadays, and I'm sure that kind of applies because of universal game design rules we've developed over the last 20 years, but I can't really help but feel that some of the magic games used to have for me has just kind of dissipated. That doesn't mean I don't like games anymore, but I am more conscious while I play some games rather than others. And what does that mean exactly? Conscious while playing? Heffy G, you silly bastard, are you playing games in your sleep? And the answer is yes. Rocket League, because I could score on you suckers in my sleep. But what I really mean by conscious is that I'm actively focusing on the game or its story. For example, I spent the entire day playing Red Dead Redemption 2 without eating when it first came out because I was just that engrossed in what I was doing. I wanted to see where the story would go, and I wanted to explore every inch of that gorgeous disease-ridden American countryside. But when I played Generation Zero, I mean, fuck, man. Oof, that game is... yeah, that game is something, man. I mean, really, who said, you know what, let's make a game where the primary goal of the designers is to actively dissuade the player from giving a shit about what they're doing, you know? Let's grab every fucking boring generic thing about open world shooters from the last 10 years and just have you fight brain dead AI robots and follow around non-existent NPCs for, and again, I'm implying heavy air quotes here, plot development.
Get that nasty shit out of my face!
But if you put all that stuff aside, it's actually a great game to play while focusing on other things, because, you know, you give that little of a shit about it. I was watching a Luke Stevens video the other day, and by the way, you should go check that guy out. He's way better at this stuff than I am. But he mentioned something that kind of stuck with me. It was the phrase junk food games. What exactly is a junk food game? I thought to myself. Well, when you eat junk food, you're never really satisfied. There's taste, but no substance, so you can gorge yourself on a bag of chips, but still not really feel like you ate. That same concept kind of applies to a junk food game. When you play a game like the Zombies mode in Call of Duty, you're not really invested in the characters or storyline, but you really just don't want to get butt-fucked by a horde of zombies. And after successfully finishing a round, you're not really satisfied by the experience, you just want to go again. If you're cruising around in Forza Horizon 4 and you're not really in the middle of a race, then the game is designed to feel like a lazy road trip with its music and general feel of the environment. Skyrim lets you roam around and start shit with giants and dragons without consequences.
Ooh, yeah! What in oblivion is that?
Sentries, what do you see?
It's in the clouds! Yeah!
It's a junk food game. Essentially, any game that you can play without devoting all your attention to counts as a junk food game. And yeah, I know what you're going to say, you can devote all your attention to the games that I just mentioned before. But that doesn't really make those not junk food games, that makes you a bit of a tryhard. No offense. Really though, any game could be a junk food game if you're comfortable enough with it and it doesn't really have any real consequence to losing. Games like Tarkov and Dark Souls really fuck you over for not paying deep attention to the game, but games like BioShock just reset you back a couple feet. Replaying a favorite game can also convert that into a junk food game by lessening the story impact and acclimating you to the game's mechanics beforehand. I mean, the first time you play GTA 5, it's a state-spanning crime opera with a super immersive world, but 5 years and 40 playthroughs later, it's an absent-minded gamer's perfect sandbox, and you just want to skip that dock working mission with every fiber of your fucking being. And just because a game isn't high risk doesn't mean it can't be a fun time either. Pokemon has always traditionally been a junk food game, but people love that shit. I mean, they get tattoos of it and everything. Not that that's wrong, I mean, seriously, not to date this video, but it's 2020. We live in the future by Doc Brown standards. Go out and like whatever game, Pokemon, or thing you want. If someone tells you you're wrong for liking something, just punch them right in their stupid face. Maybe it's not good to have Twinkies for every meal, but they're delicious, and well worth enjoying, even if they aren't exactly a full-course meal. But seriously though, please don't go out and have Twinkies for every meal, you will fucking die. Have you heard about Warframe? Because this game's pretty fucking cool. It's like everything that I thought was cool when I was 12 years old all got mashed together and put into this fucking video game. I mean, you're a fucking space ninja cutting up space shit. It's fucking cool. I mean, shit, I don't know what else to say on it. Really, as soon as you attach space to the beginning of anything, it just makes it like 40% cooler. It's proven scientifically. I mean, shit, Nazis are really fucking bad, but Star Wars gave us space Nazis and 40% cooler than regular Nazis, so they're 40% cool. People like the space Nazis somehow. I mean, I'll be honest, the math there is very lacking, but space Nazis. Yep, Warframe is a game where you can use your space sword to cut space fascists as a space ninja in your spaceship, and man, I'd say this game needs to give me some space, but I think it's giving me too much already. Haha! All space jokes aside, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the game. I mean, shit, for a free-to-play game, the scope is pretty goddamn massive. The game itself was released in 2013 for PC, and as we all know, 2013 was a long freaking time ago. This game's probably older than you, Timmy. Also, Timmy, I curse a lot. You probably shouldn't be watching these videos, bro. Actually, the idea for Warframe probably came from before that, too, because in 2008 they released Dark Sector, which is the game that Digital Extremes made before they made Warframe, and a lot of the lore and stuff in Warframe actually derives from a lot of the lore that they had in Dark Sector. But you don't care about that, right? I don't care about that, so I know you don't care about that. You just want to see the space ninja shoot some space dudes right in the space nuts, right? Well, this game's got plenty of that. Hell, this game's got no shortage of ways to space murder dudes. I mean, you started off just doing random roguelike instances, right? But they've since upgraded the game so that now you can have full-on fucking space naval battles against other space players. It's ridiculous. But it's ridiculous in a good way, like a good Ryan Reynolds performance, or a really tasty bowl of nachos. This game is the definition of quantity over quality, but also quality. So maybe it's not the definition of that. Maybe that was a shitty allegory. But you know what? I'm gonna continue because I've gone too far and I don't want to redo that line. Okay? So moving forward, this game is fucking awesome. Never in my life has anyone ever asked me, hey, what do you think the perfect model for a free-to-play game is? So I've never had the opportunity to answer. But if I did, I'd tell them Warframe in a fucking heartbeat. This game started off as a wimpy little baby, oh, you're a free-to-play game. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, here's a little lollipop, to like straight up fucking owning the free-to-play sphere. You ask anyone who plays free-to-play games if they've heard of Warframe, of course they fucking heard of Warframe. It's like asking a first-person shooter aficionado to name Call of Duty. They know what Call of Duty is, just like free-to-play people know what Warframe is. You don't have to have me sit here and tell you how awesome this game is. You already know. This game is fucking just busting down doors, yelling beefcake in people's faces. It followed its dreams, and now it's here to help you follow yours.
Follow your dreams. You can reach your goals. I'm living proof. Beefcake. Beefcake.
This game never asks you for a penny. I mean, sure, it'll put a little sign up that says, hey man, you get an extra penny, but it will never ask you for a penny. This game only wants your penny if you want to give it your penny. Everything in this game can be unlocked through work in-game. And that's the way it should be. If a player enjoys playing the game, then that game should reward that player for playing that game. That's how it worked in PS2 games. That's how it should work in 2020. I know that the model for making money through free-to-play games is a very confusing model for a lot of people. But the point of the matter is, if you put things in-game for people to work towards, there's always going to be a good percentage of people who don't want to deal with that bullshit. So of course, you're still going to be making money, but at the end of the day, you're going to be keeping your fan base because you're going to be giving them shit to work towards. Warframe gives you all the tools and time you need to unlock every one of its different Warframes and abilities and weapons. You just have to want it. And I feel like that's the perfect way to set up a free-to-play game. It's free to play, it's free to enter. Now if you want the cool stuff, sure, you can grind for it like a lot of people are willing to do. But if you don't have the time for that, here, just toss me a little 5-ski and take the cool skin or take the cool gameplay innovation. It's really not that complicated. Just don't put seriously good stuff behind a paywall. Let players always have the opportunity to earn it. And for the love of God, don't make earning it such a pain in the ass. A player shouldn't have to invest 40 hours into a game to get a new gun or a new skin or a new weapon in general. Let them work for it, but be reasonable. Like Warframe, a lot of the stuff you need to craft some of the more pricey Warframes, it is rare and it is hard to get, but at the same time you can farm certain places and certain missions for those items. There's always going to be a hardcore market in your games, but there's also always going to be a casual market in your games too. Free-to-play game developers shouldn't really have fear of making money through their games, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't want to sit through tens of hours of grinding or work to unlock something. That's why EA makes so much money off of those unlock all packs that they sell for their games. Long story short, what I'm trying to say is, if you're developing a free-to-play game, if you're considering moving to a free-to-play model for an existing game, really the important thing is that you make a game that's worth playing. If you make a game that's worth playing, fill it with items that players will want to unlock through gameplay, you're always going to have people who don't want to put the time into it. So you're never going to have to worry about making money off of it. Just make a game worth playing and the money will come. Anyway, that's all my time for today. I do want to thank you for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end. If you did, why not like, comment, or subscribe? Please, please, please don't do it just because I asked you to. Do it if you want to, okay? But regardless, thanks for watching. If you didn't like it, fuck you. If you did, hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.